Susana, you read the whole book then?
Yeah, I did. From front to back. But, you know, for editing purposes.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think that both Tiana and Henrik, you were now talking from kind of a curatorial perspective. And Susana, you came in the process, but forgive me if it's wrong, but more from an historian perspective.
That's correct, yeah.
So, and maybe you can tell us like how it was feeling, how was the approach?
Well,
I mean, maybe for both of you, could be interesting.
yeah. I was thinking on my way here today, I had this image. I often think of Thierry's art as like help signals from a shipwrecked civilization. You know, it's just and what I mean by that, especially coming from a historian's perspective, is that you have these shreds of cardboard, you have these tents, you have this format art, you know, you have all of these very minimalist things that he puts together very quickly, but when you're unloading them as a writer, there's just so much in there. There's so much history, there's so many ideas. I mean, I had the number of books I had to read, like I had never read Guy Debord before. Sorry, I had to I had read a whole biography of Marcel Duchamp. I started reading biographies of all of these people going through. I mean, you know, I just had to get tons and tons of books to understand a piece of cardboard that Thierry had made in 5 minutes, maybe less. But so that was really interesting, I think. And at the beginning, working with Thierry they assigned me this first essay to write, you know, and we had never met before. I had written like a very short essay about him in business school. And I was just saying to them that it came in a sort of moment of crisis in my own academic life. So I put everything into trying to understand this one artwork by Thierry in advance of the broken arm, or a concept really. And it was kind of sort of shooting for all of these different ideas that were in there and trying to find what the right avenue was. And I think what was amazing working with Thierry was, I mean, as a writer, I've never had anybody read my texts so carefully. And that, I mean, I know for a lot of people that's like a nightmare, but for me it was glorious because I don't think any of my teachers had ever read my text like that. So, and it was amazing that he knew kind of exactly what he wanted without being able to know what the final goal was. And I'll always remember at the end of that last essay, the first essay, when we got to like the 7th or 8th draft, you sent me this email. It was like you hit the center with precision rightly. And it was the best email I ever got. So yeah, I would say from a historian's perspective, that was the big surprise about Thierry's work. I mean, from the beginning to the end, I'm constantly surprised by how rich it is in ideas. And I think everyone will be too when they read these books. Especially now with like Extinction Rebellion. I mean, every time they come up in my news feed, which is like twice a day, I think like, gosh, you know, like there's this whole manual here in a way. I mean, it's full of like much, yeah. Anyway, it's I think that this book is gonna, like, we'll see what happens with it in 10 years. But I'm very curious. I think it's.
But about energy, you told me once that I was taking your energy.
No, I didn't.
No?
There's no way I would have said
Yes, you
something
do.
like that.
I can confirm.
I wouldn't have said
But then
something
you
like
get
that.
it back.
To be not diplomatic.